I usually make videos about what's going on in the industry, what's happening with this studio or that publisher, but you know what? Today, I want to be a bit more relaxed and do something different. So, I'm just going to talk about my favorite game of the year and take what I've experienced with this game and place it against some other games where I have a big question and a theory on something that hasn't really been utilized enough in video games, if I'm being honest. So, let me get into it. I promise it'll make sense in the end. So, there's a lot of games that came out this year. I played a lot of them, but my favorite game of the year ended up coming out late in 2025. And it was something that I had my eye on for a while. That game is Octopath Traveler 0. I'm no stranger to these games either. I've already platinumed both the first and second games in the series, so naturally I was always going to play 0. But whereas Octopath 1 and 2 are great games that in my opinion have some frustrating issues in them to some degree, 0 has just blown past all my expectations and cemented itself as one of the better RPGs I've played in years. Don't worry, I won't be spoiling the plot or anything here, so just let me gush about it and tell you why this game is just so special to me. The general gist of 0 is that you play your own character that you make, which is new to the series, and you're a part of this town called Wishvale. Not really a spoiler to say this, but since it's in all the trailers, but Wishvale and its inhabitants, they get attacked for an unknown reason very early on. All hell breaks loose, and mostly everyone you know is pretty much wiped out in an instant by these three very evil villains that are all working together in unison. After this horrific attack, your town is then reduced to embers, your family gone, and then you're left to pick up the pieces and discover why the events that happened did in true classic RPG fashion. After this, and also true Octopath fashion, you get to then explore the world at your own pace and leisure. You can go pretty much anywhere you want and chase one of the three main story paths of power, fame, and wealth with their own stories and everything too. Each path takes you down a series of events where you hunt down these villains that ruined your life for various reasons I won't get into, obviously, and immediately the plot of these three stories, they're good, even great, especially the fame path, which has an excellent villain. All the while in between these story missions where you traverse these big dungeons and fight monsters everywhere, gaining experience and getting stronger as you do in these sorts of games. You'll also be returning to Wishvale and doing that quest line to find the remnants of the citizens who survived the attack and then bring them back to rebuild the town. You start to build homes and a shop and grow vegetables or a farm for things like milk and meat to make dishes, and even the tavern that you eventually rebuild too. And as you do all of this too, you gain new heroes joining your ranks and discover more characters along the way. The actual character customization here is also a lot larger, as only your main hero can change classes, but unlike previous games, 0 has over 30 playable characters, and they all have unique classes in their own ways too. Even the characters that do have similar classes like scholars or hunters, you still get different movesets and abilities for them, making everyone their own unique unit anyways. They each also get their own unique ultimate ability eventually too, and then once you unlock the training ground, you can then max out characters' abilities and then spend any future job points gained to then buy those characters' abilities again to create copies of their own unique talents, which you can then give any other unit in the game an ability from another unit as long as it makes sense with them, of course. So a unit that has access to, say, axes and bows, they can't equip a sword skill, for example, because they don't use swords, but stuff like magic spells, healing, or utility abilities, those are pretty universal. This allows for really cool builds, and you even have like other buffs too, and it allows you to create some very broken builds, honestly, in the game too. And there's certain characters that have just stayed on my team because I'm basically farming them like crazy to make copies of certain talents for everyone. What I also didn't know about the game originally was that it also has the entirety of Octopath Traveler 1's world available too, which is the world of Orstera, alongside the original 8 heroes from that game, which are actually fully recruitable as well in this game. So getting to see people again, like my main character in the first Octopath game, Ulbrich the Warrior, now being recruitable again was actually kind of awesome. And you will unlock and recruit everyone plus a ton of new people too as the game just progresses as you go. Without spoiling anything, obviously, I figured once you completed these 3 main quest lines that the game would be over storyline wise. But to my amazement, it actually barely began the game. It turns out 0 is utterly massive in like the best way possible, because after completing the 3 main quest lines, you then unlock a singular one that is just multiple chapters long itself, like longer than any story in either previous games. And this story becomes a continent like wide event where you're basically thrusted into an all-out war between nations. And the villains in this part of the story are also just horrifically evil, but really and very very memorable too. And there's some genuine twists in the story here that I did not see coming, which is crazy for me because I can usually see a twist from like a mile away. But what was even more surprising is once you beat this massive storyline, the game still isn't even over. You're actually at the halfway point. You then unlock 3 additional quest lines that then build upon the events of the previous 4 you just did, and those flesh out different parts of the world in very unique ways that I will not spoil for you, don't worry. But these new quest lines, they cover new threats that come to Orstera for you to fight, and of course there's new heroes to recruit, villains to fight, and just stuff to discover and find, and then some. It's so great, dude. Then following these 3, the game then enters its actual endgame, and I will not spoil any of that for you, but as you can see, this game, which began as like a simple, just a simple JRPG, man, about like rebuilding your home, it just becomes something so much more in every conceivable way. I'm currently like 63 hours into the game myself, almost level 60 with my heroes. I haven't finished the game yet. I still have quite a bit to do, but I just find myself eagerly anticipating to play Octopath Traveler 0 whenever I get a chance to just sit down and play it. I haven't had an RPG like this in a really long time where I genuinely just wanted to absorb everything I could about its world. Well, there were other ones this year, I guess, too. There was Clear Obscure, that came close. Tainted Grail's probably in second place for me in terms of its world. Like Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon, that has a really interesting, like mightily interesting world to just discover. That came out this year too. That game's awesome. Go play that one too. But I would consider those games to also be in like my top 10 for the year, absolutely. But Octopath Traveler 0 is still my game of the year because it just, I don't know, it harkens to like what I played and enjoyed as a kid. But it then transforms and evolves that experience that was laid down by the older Final Fantasy games and evolves that experience into something just truly incredible. Like I feel like I'm playing a new Final Fantasy, but like old school, you know what I mean? I feel like I'm playing Final Fantasy like 6.5 or something. This game also, where it looks retro, but with like the HD 2D 3D graphics, like it just looks incredible, man. And the music, oh my god, the music has me in awe at times where I just kind of stop playing the game so I can just listen to the music on hand without all the special effects in the background. Like the boss music in this game is insane. The battle themes are great too. Even Wishvale's theme is still stuck in my head, and the characters are just kind of wonderful and memorable. Originally, I thought there's like no way they're going to be able to flesh out 30 plus characters in a game, but they do it somehow. Every character has unique quests to do to find out more about them. Other characters get more fleshed out in the actual quest lines of the main story as well. And they do eventually join you. I won't say who, obviously. And then through this, they become their own unique heroes too that are just awesome to see. Like, it's just this sort of game where I genuinely just talk to every single person in every town I go to just discover what they have to say. Like, what do you have on you and how can I obtain that from you? Because like, just like the previous Octopath games, in case you didn't play those, you have unique actions that you can do with the NPCs in the world. Like you can inspect people, for example, to learn of like the location of hidden items in the world, or obtain like trade lists and blacksmith recipes, which you can then take back to Wishvale to make like uniquely powerful weapons for your characters. Or you can entreat them, which then that allows you to gain items for free that range from new weapons and spells or unique items even that unlock new quests and areas in the world. And you can even just fight people if you want in towns for their items and gain stuff that you shouldn't really have access to yet, but if you can best them in battle, you just get those items early and it's awesome. You can even recruit NPCs in the world who have unique abilities to use in combat. You can also just hire them too through money, haggle the prices if you want, or even invite people back to Wishvale and then use their unique talents to bolster your town. You can find people who increase the production and quality of your farms in the fields, or merchants who will like make the trade routes faster, or even lower the prices you pay for things, or make the prices that you sell your things for be even more too. You can also open the training ground to put up to like 12 units of yours basically in like an adult daycare, if you will, and then that lets them train and level up alongside your characters when you're out in the world fighting things. And then you can load up the training ground with people that you find in the world that drastically increase like how much experience those people gain or the job points they get too. Like just everything you do in this game matters, okay? Every person you speak to has something you can do with them pretty much. And then you can find ancient enemies like out in these dungeons in the world to get magic stones, and you bring those back and then upgrade all your facilities too, like the tavern, the training ground, your shop, like all of it, dude. Oh, it's so good. And you can also recruit NPCs to your town that gives you like supplies depending on their professions, like quality stone, metal, or battle items, healing items. Or they just flat out give you cash payments for allowing them to stay in your town, which is always welcome too. It just becomes this like ritual of returning to your town periodically between things to check up on how everyone is doing. You can even unlock a monster arena eventually essentially, which has you going out into the world to hunt down the big, unique monsters that are just insanely strong. And if you beat them, that gives you unique skills and spells and weapons and armor too, but then you can then rematch those monsters in the monster arena after you capture them for like another unique reward that you get from them too. Like, this game is just amazing, dude. Oh, it's so good, dude. At first when I played it, I was like, it's like an 8 out of 10, okay? And then as I continued playing and I started to complete quest lines, I'm like, okay, it's like an 8.5 out of 10 now. Then I was like, my character skills are maxed out. Am I just done with them now? Do I move on to other characters? But then I progressed the story, and then once I unlocked the training ground, and then boom, now I can like mix and match and further progress my characters. Okay, now the game is like a 9 out of 10. And where I am right now, I think the game is like a 9.5 out of 10, and I'm not even kidding. It's like one of, if not the best games, probably, yeah, that Square Enix has like released in years, and I'm not even kidding. There's like no sugarcoating here. Like, nothing, guys. This game is like everything I pretty much just wanted from like Square Enix and Final Fantasy and all of that, and then some. My really only complaint is I wish I could use my job points to increase the potency of the skills my heroes have, or have more, I guess, classes for my hero to like obtain. But I do wish I could increase my abilities powers, like in terms of like a rank or something. But besides that, everything that's here is honestly just phenomenal. Again, I'm not done with the game. I did see some spoilers online, which is like, what can you do, I guess. But from what I saw, the game's story is about to get pretty much insane in the end game, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm probably going to reach like 90 hours or so by the time I 100% this game, if I had to guess. But I'm absolutely in love with this game, man. It is so good. It's so great. And the classic Octopath like battle system is here too, and it's still amazing. Where you build the brave points like in Bravely Default, you spend those points to do multiple actions in a single turn, or you can power up your abilities further with those points to do more damage. And now, since the teams are like so big, because you have like 30 characters, your teams are now 4 people in the front and 4 people behind them, and then you can swap them out depending on who you need. Like, it's just awesome. The level of depth here is just crazy, and personally, I think Octopath Traveler 0 is kind of the breakout game in this series, where it like really puts them on the map. I mean, like, where they go from here, if they reiterate on what's available in this game already, I'm not kidding you, they have the next Final Fantasy on their hands. Like, don't get me wrong, Octopath 1 and 2 are awesome too, great games. They're like 8.5 out of 10s in my opinion. But 0 is just, it's masterful, man. I highly recommend it, obviously. But I also found out something while playing this game, which then made me want to talk about not really only this game, but others too. Because to my surprise, 0 kind of came out of nowhere until I found out that Octopath Traveler 0 was actually, it was a console port of a mobile game spin-off called Octopath Traveler Champions of the Continent. And then it all started to make sense to me. The massive quest lines, all the things I get to do and obtain, this addictive kind of mobile gacha game, I guess, framework, if you will. Obviously, 0 is now a console port, and like I said, so all those microtransactions and monetization elements have been removed from the game 100%. So it is now just like a console game, like where 100% of the content is in the game when you buy it and nothing is locked or anything, which is awesome. But this then had me thinking, had Square Enix never opted, to like make a console port of this mobile game spin-off in the series, I likely wouldn't have ever played it or experienced it myself. Not to say that mobile games are bad, okay? Just that I'm more of a console gamer myself. But it then had me thinking, if this amazing experience was being kept on mobile, but was now, brought to consoles finally, what else could be just sitting there on like some server at Square Enix? Or somewhere else even, that could become the next Octopath Traveler 0 like atom bomb of an RPG. Final Fantasy Brave Exvius is a game where it's sort of like a spiritual successor of sorts to Final Fantasy Tactics. You fight in grid-based combat like in Tactics, but the game has insanely deep RPG customization. Like, I'm talking massive skill trees, and then there's even like further skill trees for each summon that you can use too. It's absurd. The game also tells a big sprawling story with plenty of unique characters, and it also has collabs with other Final Fantasy characters too. And all I could think to myself is, if Square Enix just took Brave Exvius, removed the mobile game elements, formatted the game screens and UI for console gaming, they would probably have another massive seller on their hands. Like, that's the thing, right? These mobile games, they have tons of content because obviously they need you engaged to keep playing, to keep buying the monetization stuff. I get that. It's pretty obvious with Octopath Traveler 0 when it was a mobile game that the new quest lines and areas that you explored were probably not there day one. And they, like other games, they would add these new quests and updates and characters and such, and then drip feed this content to players like any other live service game. So by the time it was ported to console where all the content was already complete, you had months upon months, if not honestly years of content available just immediately for you to explore, which is why the story is so massive and the world is so expansive and the RPG elements are just so addicting. It's like I'm playing some S-tier mobile game, but I don't have to pay like the mobile game prices. And Brave Exvius is like zero. It has loads of content. The game was taken offline too a bit ago, but if you ask me, it would be a travesty to just waste all that time and effort that these developers have put in and just not turn Exvius like into a console port in the future. You have all the content already. You just need to retrofit it to make sense for TV screens and monitors. Remove the, gotcha UI to clean it up, obviously, and then basically just turn it into a traditional Final Fantasy game again. And it would be a day one buy for me, and like many others, it doesn't even end there either. Like, look at Nier Reincarnation. That's another mobile spin-off from Square Enix, obviously from the Nier franchise. Everyone loved Automata. Replicant's remake did well too for them, but Reincarnation, they ended its online service in April 2024. But they then left all that content and story and the battle systems, the amazing art and everything just sit on like some server that's doing nothing right now. If Square Enix were then to take Reincarnation and again retrofit it for console and PC, you would have a massive Nier game to release for players that they could play for dozens of hours of content, and I guarantee you that people would buy this day one. It's Nier, for God's sakes. I seriously think this mentality of taking these older, let's say expired mobile games, I guess, and then transforming them into like shiny console PC ports, that could be a new meta that is full of potential to be utilized. Because if Octopath Traveler 0 was mobile only and it never, got a console port, this video would never exist. Now just imagine how many great stories are existing out there that are also just sitting on some server at some company just waiting to be repurposed and remastered. Mobius Final Fantasy is another mobile game Square Enix has made that again you can't play on consoles. It's also a more action-driven Final Fantasy game, and like everything else I mentioned has loads of content you just can't play anymore because it's offline now. Why is this not expanded upon into a full-fledged console port game? I have no idea. You could take all that content you made, you'd have a JRPG just bursting from the seams with content and polishing, just waiting to be dropped on players' heads. And the cutscenes in Mobius are beautiful too. It's a travesty how many of these games are just like sitting marooned on mobile or just not really playable at all anymore, when they could all just easily just be made into like new products that people then can just buy and enjoy. Like even outside of Square Enix, you have Diablo Immortal. We all know this game. Okay, well, you guys don't have phones, but people were mad that you couldn't play Immortal on PC since it was announced as a mobile game. But since then, Blizzard has created a PC port of Diablo Immortal for players to play, which is fully integrated with crossplay with the mobile version too. Although, unlike Octopath 0, Immortal did not remove its monetization elements. Instead, the PC port is just quite literally the mobile game, but on PC, like warts and all, online shop and everything. So unfortunately, yes, it is still a pay-to-win game for many, and the UI is still clustered despite the fact, but let's be real. If Blizzard released a port of Diablo Immortal that removed the monetization and just made it a single-player game with co-op, they would just make like even more money, and that's just the truth. But this is Activision Blizzard I'm talking about here, so that's, probably not very likely. But you even have games like Stella Sora, which is another mobile game with really cool-looking combat and fun characters. The gameplay is sort of like the Ys games or Zelda in some way, where you're fighting like big robots and such as cute little anime characters, and generally speaking, the game looks fun to play. But again, it's one of those gacha mobile games, which obviously some people love, and I understand that, like no shade towards it, but like I said, imagine if Stella Sora was eventually ported into a console game or like on PC where it retained all the gameplay, the levels, and the customization, and the characters, and then some. But it wasn't always online or had microtransactions, but instead you paid one price and then you just had the game forever and could play it at your leisure. The studio would still make millions if they ported it like that. Obviously, the game is still ongoing as of this video coming out anyway, so that won't happen anytime soon. But who knows, maybe in like 5 years or something, if development winds down and it goes offline, a console port should be in the cards. It would not only make the players who did play it at its height happy because they could access the content they obviously paid for, but it would open these games up to new potential customers and players too, which is like, hey, that's a big win no matter how you slice it. Or you have another game like Duet Night Abyss. That's another game that plays like an action RPG with swords and magic, but you can use guns too. It looks sort of like Genshin Impact, but it relies heavily on its action RPG combat to carry the experience. Looks fun, right? Would be even more fun if it had a console port, because imagine all that action RPG goodness is jam-packed into a full-price game with like a physical disc or or on digital, like, yeah, that would sell like hotcakes probably too. You run around in zones completing story quests in this game and learning about the characters in Duet Night Abyss, which also, by the way, it already has full English dub implemented in the game already, so like the job is already done for you. It has a fully playable main story quest to complete and a world to explore. Would be awesome to play if it was a console game. What about the more recently announced Terminator Survivors? That's a live service survival game set in an open world apocalypse, where players are gathering materials and surviving and fighting against the robot horde of Skynet. It looks like, anyways, at first glance, something similar to like Arc Raiders, but you probably heard live service and went, oh, well, that's too bad. Well, yes, but actually no. You see, it was actually announced like recently that Terminator Survivors was changing its entire design philosophy. The game will now no longer be a live service game, but it's going to be a single player open world survival game instead now. Yeah, I know. So this is no longer some heavily, I guess, monetized Terminator experience. It's instead going to be like you're playing Days Gone, Horizon, or whatever, but it's, Terminators now. So my curiosity in that game went from like a 2 out of 10 to like an 8 now, because what do you mean you're making an open world survival game with Terminators and I only have to buy it once? Well, now you have my attention because that sounds awesome. And this is what I mean, right? Like there's this massive untapped potential like sitting at the heart of a lot of these mobile games and live service games as well. Sure, like 90% of them will fail because that's the nature of live service as a concept, but why does death need to be the end, These studios and publishers could easily take these games, strip them of their gacha elements and heavy monetization, and just turn these games into like potential heavy hitters that come packed brimming with content already to devour. Like I said in the beginning, my game of the year in 2025 is a console port of a mobile game I would have never have played myself, which just tells me that there is some seriously interesting potential out here, because I could keep filling this video with mobile games that are either offline or whatever else, but the point is that this could be a new meta here, right? The next big thing, if you will. We have publishers already banking on remasters like crazy, doing ports to this game and that to like other platforms. Like, God, I would love a Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced port, for God's sakes. Why isn't that existing? Why isn't Radiant Historia remastered already? But like, you're telling me that there's likely hundreds, if not like thousands of games right now that maybe, okay, they failed as live service games, but they could easily become fan favorites if the annoying elements people don't like were removed, and instead they were just sold as content complete games with like a single price tag and that's it. Like Octopath Traveler 0 is amazing. I love that game to bits. I can't wait to keep playing it myself. But it's insane knowing that this game was just like sitting in mobile game purgatory pretty much with all that content, those amazing characters and the design elements and the stories and everything, until someone at Square Enix went, well, hold up, why are we not just making a console port of this? And now the reviews have come in, the game is like glowing. It's all like 80 out of 10, 8.5, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. And the series has also crossed like 6 million units sold thanks to Octopath Traveler 0 now recently too. Like, there's really no negative here at all. It's like a second life for these games, a cheat code even. And who knows, maybe in the hundreds of failed live service games with their waifus and the gacha elements sits these experiences that are just waiting to be explored and played by millions of eager players. Brave Exvius becoming a console port would be absolutely amazing. Same with Nier Reincarnation. But with Terminator Survivors already taking that plunge and changing their whole design, I can only hope that more games are going to follow suit too. Meet the players where they are, give them what they want like Octopath Traveler 0 did, and I promise you, if you do it right, you just turn your remaster of a remake of your mobile game into like a literal cash cow. And you didn't even have to make a whole new game out of it either, so please go play Octopath Traveler 0. And I hope one day that Brave Exvius is the same way I am right now, because there's so much untapped potential here, it's honestly crazy. But what do you guys think? What potential mobile games would you like to see transformed into like console ports? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching and, letting me gush about my favorite game of the year too, by the way. I love Octopath Traveler 0. I think you should play it. Subscribe if you want more content in the future. I'll see you guys next time, but the potential is there. Let's just hope these companies have the will to manifest.